Lots of managers do micromanaging, and it doesn't matter whether they've only been managing for a short period of time or they've been in a management role for most of their career. It's a behavior that people get into many times without even knowing it. And even if they do, they're kind of powerless to do anything different because they've either grown up under someone like that and they've learned that particular style of management, or it's what's comfortable to them. And what I find out most times is when people gravitate to a micromanagement type of style, it's because they're completely disorganized on their own. They don't really have any set agenda or organizational format that they follow, so everything becomes an instant need. And when you get like that, your people pick up on that very quickly, and that's usually where the problem starts. Being able to stop the micromanaging process starts with the realization that you're actually doing it, and there's a better way to get performance and results and loyalty out of your people. Most of the time, people that are being micromanaged, they're not really loyal to your cause. They're showing up because they need a paycheck. And so what you want to do is change it up so the work environment is much more pleasurable to operate in. So what I tell a lot of my clients who kind of fall prey to this type of management style is I say, sit back and evaluate your own method of doing your job. There's 3 areas that you can adopt fairly quickly that will help change how your people see you as a manager. And the first one is expectations. You know, your expectations of what they do has to be clear, how they do it, as well as how long it will take. And if your expectations are inconsistent with what they know to be the case because they're doing the work, then right there you're going to have a clash. So you have to have really clear expectations. You also have to be more of a guide than a taskmaster. Because if you give work over to somebody, you assign it to them that's part of their regular role, you can't be on them every 5 minutes wanting to know where they're at. You've got to kind of open that door of communication and let them know if they have an issue, come to you. But other than that, you're going to let them do the work in whatever time you both agreed that it needs to be done. And then the third thing is accountability. Part of the problem with micromanagement is they never hold anybody accountable because they're too busy in the thick of it doing the work for the employee. Yeah, once you start to learn that you can hand over a project with a reasonable amount of discussion about how it's supposed to go, you set a date. So, set a date, end of the week, beginning of next week for check-in, and let the person do the work, and you sit back and wait for them to come to that first check-in, and then you can figure out how they're doing. Many times when people start new management approaches, and leadership approaches are in the same boat, many times the change is so radical in the eyes of the people working around you that it's almost disbelief. They don't really believe that this is a new you. So there's a tendency a lot of times for people to kind of push back and kind of wonder why you've changed up. They might not like the way you've behaved before, but changing to a different behavior is equally as traumatic for some people. It's that unknowing of why you're doing things. So if it doesn't seem to work the first time, it's not because it's not a good principle or a good practice to adopt. It just means you have to spend a little more time convincing the people around you that this is the new you. Once you realize that your management practice could use a tune-up and you need to get rid of the behaviors associated with micromanagement, and you adopt these new practices, you need to stay with them until you see results showing up. Depending on how long you've been in the old mode, depending on how frustrating it's been, how dysfunctional the workplace has gotten, it could take months. But the whole idea is to stay with it because eventually people will start to recognize that you're not going back to your old ways, that you've adopted new practices, you're working with them, you're perfecting them, and eventually people will get on board. It may take you, it may only go a couple of weeks before some of the people on your crew start to notice and respond. But for some other people, it may take longer. The whole point is, if this is a better way to manage your business, and I can tell you from being in management 40 years and working with clients for 12 years, that this is absolutely a better way to get more things done through other people. You just need to stick with it until you become comfortable and the results start to show up.